The great chamber of the Galactic Council was filled with light and color, walls glowing with shifting patterns that showed the many stars under their rule. Hundreds of alien delegates sat in silence as the humans entered, their diplomats walking tall in black suits, carrying nothing but the weight of their words. The promise of peace had brought them here. It was supposed to be the final step in joining humanity to the greater galaxy, an agreement that would end suspicion and replace it with cooperation. Whispers moved across the chamber, sharp and cutting. Some aliens smiled with false kindness, but others could not hide their contempt. They thought humans were naive, too young, too trusting, too eager for peace. The human delegation took their seats at the long table, their faces calm but watchful. They had spent months preparing for this day, believing that word could protect Earth better than weapons. The council leader, a tall creature with 4 glowing eyes, raised his hand for silence and began the speech of unity. His voice was soft and almost gentle, yet behind the words there was something sharp, something hidden. The humans listened carefully, their translators working fast, their minds weighing every phrase. The chamber air grew heavy, and though the humans kept still, a strange unease crept into their thoughts. Halfway through the session, the air changed. A signal, quiet and unseen, passed from one alien delegate to another. Guards in shining armor stepped from the shadows. Their weapons, once hidden, now glowed with lethal energy. The chamber doors sealed with a loud echo. The humans looked around, eyes narrowing, realizing too late what had happened. This was not diplomacy. This was a trap. The council leader's smile widened as he stood. His voice carried across the chamber, cruel now, without the mask of peace. "Humans," he said, "you believed in trust. You believed in treaties. But you were wrong. Your words mean nothing in the galaxy. Your world is alone, and your fleets are weak. You will kneel or you will break." The guards moved in, weapons aimed at the human diplomats. One of the humans rose to protest, shouting that Earth had come in peace, that this betrayal would stain the council forever. Laughter erupted across the chamber. Aliens sneered and mocked. "Your warships are far from here," one delegate hissed. "Your planet cannot reach you. You will serve as proof to others what happens when young species overstep." The humans stood their ground, even as they were surrounded. Their eyes were cold, not broken, and that unsettled some of the aliens. One diplomat leaned forward and said in a low, steady voice, "You will regret this." The council ignored the warning. They believed humans were too fragile, too small to resist. They thought Earth would cry for mercy. They thought wrong. In the silence beyond the stars, far from the council chamber, a single ship stirred. It was old in design, built for war but kept hidden for years under codes of silence. Its name was Ironwill. For months it had floated in the dark, silent as stone, waiting for the signal that peace had failed. Inside its steel walls, the crew received the message. No rescue would come for the diplomats through talk. No council would protect them. The betrayal had been clear. Orders appeared on the captain's screen, written in only 3 words: rescue them. No mercy. The captain stood at the bridge of Ironwill, his face hard as a black void around him. He did not speak of peace, for peace was dead. He did not speak of fairness, for fairness had been buried in the council chamber. He only gave a command his crew had been trained for. Systems awakened, weapons charged, engines roared alive. Ironwill moved forward, silent and unseen, a shadow among stars. On the council world, the aliens laughed over their easy victory. They did not know that in the darkness, a human warship had already begun its answer. They did not know that betrayal had unleashed something far greater than words. The galaxy would soon learn that humanity was never weak, and that when peace was broken, Earth did not beg. It struck back. The alien council celebrated their cleverness, believing they had finally put humanity in its place. They paraded the captured diplomats across news streams, showing them in chains as proof of human weakness. Across the galaxy, alien leaders mocked Earth, calling it a young race that spoke loudly of peace but carried no real power. They laughed that humanity had only a handful of warships left, outdated and slow, easy to crush if they ever resisted. The chamber rang with arrogance, but far away in the dark, the ship called Ironwill was already awake. To alien eyes, it was nothing special. Records showed it was built decades ago, a relic of a forgotten war, its steel frame heavy, its lines sharp and simple. Yet what the records did not reveal was that Ironwool was not like other ships. It had been born in secrecy, tested in silence, and rebuilt with technology no alien had ever seen. Its engines could vanish from sensors. Its hull could bend light and heat into emptiness. To scanners, it was not a warship. It was nothing at all. And in the hands of its crew, it was not simply a weapon. It was a ghost. On the bridge, the captain watched the screen flicker with streams of alien communication. Reports of the captured humans spread everywhere, followed by laughter and boasting. He listened quietly, his eyes steady, his hands folded behind his back. The crew looked to him, waiting for the order to strike. But he did not rush. He knew fear was more powerful than fire. First, they would let the aliens believe they were safe. First, they would watch the enemy's guard drop, and then the shadow would move. The aliens were confident. Their fleets patrolled the nearby systems, heavy with ships and weapons. Their commanders relaxed, certain no human vessel could reach this deep into their territory. But something strange began to happen. Patrol ships sent routine scans, and the data returned empty. One captain frowned at his console, insisting he saw a flicker in the void, a shape that should not exist. His crew laughed at him, calling it nerves. Yet the next day, another patrol reported the same. A shadow passing across their sensors for only a second, vanishing before it could be locked. Command dismissed it, but whispers began to spread. On Ironwool, the captain smiled thinly as his ship moved unseen, circling the edges of alien patrol routes. The crew kept their weapons cold, their engines dimmed to silence. Their ship was right in front of the enemy, yet no one could find them. To the aliens, the humans were gone, helpless, broken. To the humans, the war had only just begun. Then the first message came. An alien fleet commander received a panic call from a smaller escort ship. The voice was shaking, broken by static. "Something is here," the alien shouted. "It's following us. It's watching us. We cannot see it, but we feel it." The transmission cut off in a burst of silence. Hours later, wreckage floated in the dock where the ship had been. No trace of battle, no energy signatures, just torn metal drifting alone. The council dismissed it as an accident. They told their people that humans could not do such things, that the loss was only a malfunction. But the commanders in the fleets began to sweat. They remembered the human eyes in the chamber, calm even when captured. They remembered the warning that had been spoken. Something unseen was moving among them, something human. That night, in the quiet of his command chamber, one alien leader stared at his sensor screen, eyes wide and unblinking. At first there was nothing, only the endless black of space. Then, for a heartbeat, a shape passed across the void. Long, sharp, silent, a shadow that looked too much like a warship. His breath caught, his claws dug into the console. He shouted to his crew to scan again, but the shadow was gone. He tried to laugh, to dismiss it as a trick of the stars. But in the silence that followed, a thought grew heavy in his mind. What if the humans had sent something? What if the ghost in the dark was real? The Ironwool continued forward, silent and patient, waiting for the moment to strike. The aliens still celebrated, blind to what was coming. But deep inside, fear begun to spread, small and sharp, whispering through the fleets. Something was out there, something that should not exist, and it was hunting them. The alien fleet spread across the stars like a net, their ships shining with confidence, their commanders certain they had trapped any hope of human resistance. Reports still trickled in about strange shadows and missing patrols, but the council called them lies, accidents, or fear-driven mistakes. Yet the captains on the front lines felt unease growing in their stomachs. Their scanners were showing nothing, yet their instincts screamed that something was there. They tried to reassure themselves that humans were too weak, too few, too far. But that was the moment Ironwool chose to strike. The first attack came without warning. A massive alien cruiser drifted through the darkness, its crew relaxed, some laughing at the stories of ghosts. Suddenly the ship shook with a thunderous impact. No alarm had sounded, no enemy had been detected. Flames burst across its hull as entire sections tore apart. In seconds, the cruiser was split into burning fragments. The last thing the survivors saw before the vacuum claimed them was a sharp silhouette cutting through the smoke, a warship that should not have been there. Then, just as fast as it had appeared, it was gone. Panic spread through the fleet. Messages poured into command. We are under attack. We don't know from where. They're inside our lines. Alien admirals shouted for calm, demanding proof, but the evidence was everywhere, wreckage drifting where proud ships had once been. Crews spoke of a shape they glimpsed only for seconds, black against the stars, striking with precision and vanishing like a shadow. Iron will move like no ship ever had. Its weapons fired with brutal force, tearing through shields as if they were paper. It did not waste ammunition on warnings. It did not pause to demand surrender. Every shot was meant to kill. The human crew fought with cold focus, their faces lit by the glow of explosions across their screens. The captain gave no speeches. He gave orders, sharp and final, and his crew carried them out with deadly precision. They were not here to talk. They were here to answer betrayal. An alien frigate attempted to flee, engines burning at full power. For a moment it seemed it would escape, slipping into the safety of deep space. Then, from nowhere, a beam lanced through its hull, cutting it in half with surgical accuracy. The wreck spun into silence, and the shadow of iron will pass above it without a word. Other ships turned their weapons toward empty space, firing wildly at the void. Their blasts struck nothing but stars. The human warship remained unseen, choosing its next target like a predator in the dark. Fear became louder than the orders of commanders. Alien crews whispered in terror, refusing to rest, their eyes fixed on the blackness outside their windows. Every flicker of light, every movement of shadow looked like the human warship coming for them. Even when no attack came, the silence was worse than fire. It made them wait, made them sweat, made them doubt their own courage. They had laughed at humans for being too young, too soft, too hopeful. Now they trembled at the thought of one human ship in their territory. Then came the message that silenced even the council chambers. A lone alien officer, his face pale and broken, sent out a final broadcast as his ship burned. His voice shook with fear, his eyes wide as he screamed. This is not a ship. This is a monster. It cannot be stopped. The message cut off in static, but it spread faster than fire across the stars. Whole fleets listened to the words, and for the first time, they believed them. The council tried to control the panic, declaring victory still certain, insisting that no single vessel could change the outcome of a war. But the truth was already loose, carried by survivors and wreckage drifting across systems. The humans had unleashed something the galaxy had never seen before. A warship that fought like a ghost, a crew that answered betrayal with fire, and a captain who showed no mercy. Ironwood was no longer just a ship. It was a story whispered in fear, and that fear was spreading faster than the council could silence it. And still, the captain pressed forward, his eyes fixed on the heart of the alien alliance. He had only begun. The council gathered in secret chambers, their voices raised in panic though they tried to mask it with pride. Reports from their fleets painted the same picture again and again. Ships vanishing without alarms, patrols torn apart in silence, and survivors whispering of a shadow that could not be tracked. The aliens argued fiercely. Some demanded to bring more fleets, more weapons, while others urged retreat before the humans destroyed even more. Yet they all clung to the same lie. Humanity was weak, humanity was small, humanity could not stand against the galaxy. But deep down, every leader felt the same cold fear. They were being hunted, and they did not know how. Out in the void, iron will move like a predator among prey. The captain studied alien fleet formations on his screens, his eyes calm as he read every weakness in their walls of ships. He did not rush, did not waste power. Instead, he struck where it hurt most, then vanished before the enemy could even return fire. Whole squadrons spun in confusion, chasing false signals, while the human warship slipped behind them unseen. Alien commanders shouted for discipline, but the more they tried to tighten control, the more their soldiers cracked. The fear was spreading faster than orders could contain. To break their spirit further, the captain gave new orders. His crew released false distress calls in alien language, messages designed to trick their senses. Ships rushed to aid what they believed were allies, only to arrive in empty space, or worse, an ambush. At first, alien intelligence thought it was a trick of pirates or smugglers. But as the pattern grew, as more ships fell into silence, it became clear. The humans were not just fighting with weapons. They were waging war with the mind. Soon alien crews began firing at shadows. Patrols turned their weapons against each other in confusion. Sleep became rare, nerves frayed, and every dark corner of space looked like the hiding place of Iron Will. Entire battalions requested reassignment, begging to be sent anywhere far from the hunt. Admirals denied them, but the damage was done. Discipline was cracking. The Council's proud fleets were beginning to fear their own shadows. And then the unthinkable happened. During a secret council session, deep within a heavily guarded station, an alarm suddenly screamed through the chamber. Guards rushed to their weapons as lights flickered. On the great display wall, a live feed appeared, grainy, shaking, but clear enough. A human drone hovered in the shadows of the chamber, its single red eye burning in the dark. No alarm had triggered its entry. No sensor had detected its approach. It had been watching them, recording them. The leaders froze in terror, realizing the humans were not only in their fleets but inside their very walls. Before they could react, the drone self-destructed, leaving nothing but smoke and fear behind. For the first time, the council leaders no longer mocked humanity. They whispered to each other, voices trembling, about what could happen if one ship had already pierced their defenses. They wondered if others were coming. They wondered if the galaxy they ruled so proudly was already slipping away from their control. Out in the dark, Iron Will continued its silent path, its captain watching the chaos unfold. His face remained cold, his voice steady as he gave the next order. The humans had been betrayed at the council table. Now the galaxy would learn what betrayal cost. And this was only the beginning. The council tried to calm their citizens with endless speeches. They broadcasted messages across the stars, declaring that humanity was weak, declaring that the so-called ghost ship was only a myth. They told their people to laugh at the stories of shadows and monsters. But the truth could not be hidden. Wreckage floated in systems that had once been safe. Entire patrols had gone silent, and survivors spoke with shaking voices about the human warship that struck without warning. The more the council lied, the more ordinary aliens began to whisper in fear. The story of Iron will spread faster than the council propaganda, carried by terrified voices in markets, on stations, and through hidden channels. Workers in alien colonies began to ask dangerous questions. If the humans were weak, why had fleets vanished? If the humans were weak, why did the council's own guard shake in the halls? The whispers grew until whole groups of soldiers refused to board their ships. Some colonies quietly refused to send supplies to the war effort. Fear had become a weapon sharper than steel, and Iron Will was a hand that wielded it. The captain knew this and used it. From the bridge of his ship, he ordered a single message broadcast across every channel of the alien alliance. His face appeared in the feeds, his eyes steady and cold. His voice was clear, spoken in simple words the entire galaxy could understand. You betrayed peace. You mocked our trust. You thought humanity weak. Now you will learn what war means. His words echoed across planets and ships, and then the feed cut to silence. The message spread like fire, replayed in hidden rooms, whispered in fear, and repeated by trembling lips. In the council chambers, the leaders argued in desperation. Some shouted to fight to the last ship, claiming that surrender to humans would shame them forever. Others urged to open talks before the human fleet arrived. But their arguments meant little. Fear had already taken root too deeply. Their soldiers did not trust them, their citizens no longer believed them, and every shadow in the sky made them shiver. Then came the final blow to their pride. Alien scanners picked up hundreds of signatures rising from the void. At first, the council dismissed it as sensor error, a trick of static. But as the data grew clearer, their faces paled. The readings were not ghosts. They were real. Dozens, then hundreds of human warships were appearing from hidden locations, breaking their long silence. Iron Will had not been alone. It had only been the beginning. Across alien space, panic exploded. Families rushed to shelters, soldiers begged their commanders for answers, and leaders tried to flee their worlds. The alliance that once mocked Earth now trembled at its name. They had thought humans would kneel after betrayal. Instead, they had awakened something far more terrifying. In the command chamber of Iron Will, the crew watched the new signals fill their screens. The captain stood without a word, his eyes fixed on the glowing markers of the fleet. Humanity had given peace every chance. Now the galaxy would see humanity's answer. And the answer was war. The sky above the alien core worlds burned with the light of engines. The human fleet moved in silence, formation tight and unbroken, hundreds of warships sliding through the void like blades drawn from their sheaths. At their head, iron will cut the path, its shadowed hull reflecting none of the starlight around it. On every alien world, citizens stared at the skies, waiting for the defense fleets that had once made them feel untouchable. But those fleets were broken, scattered, or too afraid to fight. The humans were here, and no one could stop them. Alien leaders screamed into comms, demanding their soldiers hold the line, demanding their fleets defend the core. Yet their voices shook, and their words held no power. Admirals who once boasted of human weakness now hesitated, staring at their maps, realizing that humanity had crossed systems no fleet was meant to cross. They watched as one colony after another went dark, human ships striking with precision, cutting supply lines, erasing strongholds. No speeches, no mercy, no second chances. Iron will lead the assault with brutal discipline. Where alien ships tried to stand, they were torn apart in minutes. Where they tried to run, they were hunted down and destroyed. The humans moved like a single mind, every ship striking in perfect rhythm, every attack planned to break the will of the enemy. And the alien citizens, once told humans were small and harmless, now whispered a new truth. Humans were monsters in steel, and their monsters had come for vengeance. The war reached the chamber where it had begun, the great hall of the Galactic Council. The same walls that once glowed with symbols of peace now trembled under the thunder of orbital bombardment. The council guards abandoned their posts, some throwing down weapons, others fleeing into the dark corridors. Inside, the leaders huddled together, their voices broken, begging for escape, for surrender, for a chance that would never come. From the sky, Iron will descended, not as a ship of peace but as judgment. Its weapons struck with terrifying precision, blasting open the proud towers of the council city. The whole that had once been a symbol of betrayal crumbled into ash. Alien leaders who had laughed at human trust now ran through smoke and fire, their voices lost beneath the raw collapsing stone. No promise, no treaty, no plea could save them. On the bridge, the human captain stood tall, his face lit by the glow of destruction. He gave his final command, not with anger, not with joy, but with a cold certainty of duty. End it. And the guns answered. When the fires faded, silence spread across the galaxy. The council was gone. The fleets were shattered. The people who had mocked Earth now lived with a new truth carved into their hearts. Humanity was not to be betrayed. Humanity was not to be mocked. Diplomacy had been offered and rejected, and what followed was the answer none of them had believed possible. The stars were quiet as Ironwool turned away from the ruins, its engines glowing faintly as it rejoined the fleet. The captain looked out at the endless void, his eyes steady, his voice low but clear. Peace was your choice. War was our answer. And with that, the fleet vanished into the black, leaving behind a galaxy forever changed.